This past Wednesday, on December 2nd, in San Bernardino, California, husband and wife Tashfeen Malik and Saheed Rizwan Farouk went on a massacre at the Inland Regional Center, killing 14 people and injuring 21 others. But of course, if you were following along in real time or in the days that have followed since then, you probably heard something entirely different. The narrative and reality diverged into two completely different camps. Now, what I saw play out and what many other people saw play out was something we've become used to at this point. The very first thing that social media latched onto and mainstream media started to support with news articles was, here we go again, another white spree killer. You could not go on any social media platform on December 2nd when this was happening and not see tweet after tweet or post after post of people saying the same thing. It's a white guy. Or goddamn NRA. It's the gun owners' fault. It's those white supremacists that are doing it once again. And even as information slowly began to trickle out, as more and more people found out about what was really taking place, they wouldn't let go of that narrative. At first it was, horrible white people are doing it. It's the NRA's fault. It's the gun owners' fault. And when the name of the first suspect came out, that it was Farouk, that it wasn't some guy named Bill Johnson, that it wasn't a Bob Allen, but a Farouk. It suddenly went from goddamn white people, goddamn gun owners to, well, let's be reasonable. Let's not jump the gun. Clearly, this is a case of workplace violence because Farouk was attending a holiday party being thrown at a conference center adjacent to the Inland Regional Center. Now, the Inland Regional Center serves as a place for the disabled and the mentally handicapped to get community services. Now, to give you an example of what I'm talking about, here's the prototypical tweet that you would have seen taking place at the very beginning of the San Bernardino shooting. We can eliminate mass shootings today. Make it illegal for white men ages 15 to 65 to own guns. And of course, what happens moments after the name of the suspect is released? When people find out it's, again, not a John Smith, but a Saheed Farouk, it goes from goddamn white people to the guns that were used to murder these disabled people were bought legally. Why are guns legal? And it wasn't just average people. It wasn't your average Joe or semi-celebrity as we see in that specific tweet. But you had people in alternative media and even mainstream media pushing the same thing, such as Cenk Uygur, who threw his hands up in anger and damned the NRA. Take away the guns, he screamed. Take them away. That'll solve the problem. Get rid of the goddamn guns. It's the goddamn NRA. That's Cenk Uygur. Now his tone changed a hell of a lot the very next day when suddenly the names and identities of the individuals involved in the shooting were released. And then of course he got up apologetically in a very calm demeanor and said, well, let's be reasonable. Not all Muslims. But this is par for the course nowadays, isn't it? We can never talk ill of any other group but white people. It's easy to pick on the white guy. It's easy to pick on the NRA. It's easy to pick on the gun owners. They're horrible people. They're terrible people. Don't you know what they do? Don't you understand that the reason this shooting happened is because the NRA was involved? Do you know what the NRA stands for? No retards allowed. Oh, that's right. It was part of their eugenics program. They were going to go euthanize the mentally handicapped receiving services at the Inland Regional Center. It all makes sense. Hallelujah. I've been enlightened by the truth. Thank you, Cenk Uygur, and all the other people on Twitter that helped to show me the way, to tell me the truth of what was really going on. This entire situation, though, is a little more insane than that. It's not a surprise to me, or a majority of people who are used to dealing with social media and the mainstream media when it comes to issues like this, that this is the tactic it took. However, what might be surprising to some is the follow-up that has taken place in the days after that. Now, the FBI and the ATF and the local law enforcement were all involved in taking down these people. There was a coordinated effort to find out who they were, where they were, to find them and to contain them or to kill them. And if you watch the events play out in real time, you'll see that the police did that. They took them down. They stopped these people. Now, people have questions in regards to the events of that day. How was this organized? They were wearing body armor, according to some. They had bulletproof vests. They had long guns. If you've watched the streams that were happening and taking place in real time, that was what it was described as. They have long guns. We can't really go into detail, but we know they're more than a few inches, but less than 5 feet, so we'll call them long guns. Regardless, the suspects were well armed. They were ready, capable, and able to cause a lot of damage. Now, for some saying, oh, it's just workplace violence. Okay, so it's not a white guy, and so it's not the NRA that's responsible for this. Clearly, Farouk, he must have had an issue. Maybe it was the holiday party. Maybe that was insulting to his religion. Well, I'm sure Bill O'Reilly's probably having an orgasm that could be heard in space. It's a war on fucking Christmas, in the very literal sense, according to people that think this is workplace violence. I can see it now. Farouk shows up at the party and he sees holiday party, the most generic seasonal greeting you can come up with, really, strung up on the ceiling. And he says, that's it. These people, they have to die. I am offended. That holiday party sign, that offends me. So I'm going to murder 14 people and shoot 21 others. That's a reasonable response. And I just so happen to have armor that I can wear, long guns that are ammoed up and ready to go, and somebody willing to come with me. Because, I think everybody here can agree that we have some pretty shitty bosses. And I've had a lot of friends say, you know what, Jim? I had a really bad day at work. My boss is a dick. And you know what my first response is? Let's get the guns and go fucking shoot the place up. That makes sense. That was what Malik was going to go do. Oh, my husband's had a bad day at work. Let's go kill some people. Now we fast forward a little. We're on December 3rd. It's a Thursday. What's happening? Well, the FBI is in charge. They're taking a look at the crime scene. They're scouring for evidence. They find the home of the suspects and they go in and they start to gather and they do what they normally do. Police are following down leads. They're investigating as best they can. And even more information begins to come out. It turns out that Saeed Rizwan Farouk was an American citizen, but his wife was not. She was born in Pakistan. She traveled with a Pakistani passport, and she grew up in Saudi Arabia. Now, he had met her a year previously, gone over there, and some have speculated they married over there, and then he brought her over here and went through the visa program and had another marriage ceremony, and got her legalized, or put on at least a temporary visa in, I believe, July of this year. So now our story is starting to evolve. It's gone from the horrible white NRA people to two Americans having workplace violence episodes to one American and one foreign national. Now, as the FBI continues their investigation, they begin to find some interesting things. Now, what did they find? Well, what they found was that Mr. Farouk and his wife had contact with 5 individuals, not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, 5 individuals that the FBI had previously opened investigations on for possible terrorist activities. One of the individuals they contacted was associated with the Shabab, the Islamist militant group in Somalia. Another of the individuals was located in, take a guess, where do you think they might be? What might be in the news right now in relation to terrorist attacks happening around the world? What possible country could this other person they were in contact with be from? If you guessed Syria, congratulations. You're a racist. But you're also correct. So here we go again. Now it's not just workplace violence. Now these two individuals, one of whom was a Pakistani, the other an American, both devout Muslims, and they were devout Muslims. The father of Farouk said that he prayed every day, that all he really did was go to work, read the Quran, and pray. And you have his wife who came from the Middle East and was also highly devout. Well, now this couple, who are in the United States, these two devout Muslims, are in contact with terrorist suspects around the world, not just in one country, but in multiple countries. And so we slowly see the workplace violence idea disappear a little bit. It kind of fades away. So now we're finally getting somewhere. I mean, this must mean that the FBI is really on top of it. They just started their investigation into this, and so they're probably going to be combing over that residence for the next couple of weeks. They're really going to be digging deep and looking at the evidence. They're going to be going through everything, photographing everything, dusting absolutely everything, because they don't want to leave potential information behind. We don't know if these people were associated with other terrorist cells in the United States. We don't know if they had people that were working with them. We have no clue. So they're really going to investigate hard. Oh, wait, no, what is that? Oh, they're done in 24 hours. I didn't know the FBI was the McDonald's of crime scene investigation. That's fantastic. 24 hours to finish up an investigation at a residence of 2 terrorist suspects that had bomb-making equipment on the premises, that had bombs on the premises. That's wow, I'm really stunned. A little bizarre, don't you think? I mean, that they would finish up so quickly? Well, at the very least, I'm sure that they're keeping the scene under lockdown. You never know, they might need to go back, or maybe they're going to have a different agency come in. I don't know, maybe the ATF or Homeland Security, maybe the NSA wants to take a look. Oh, what's that? Oh, we have breaking news from CNN. I'm going to go live to Anderson Cooper. What is it, Anderson?
The landlord has invited you and all the other media in, is that correct? We watched him. We watched him come back with a crowbar, and he worked to get out. Finally, they got out a drill, and they opened up the door that had been barricaded with a big piece of wood.
Are you fucking kidding me? So I want to try to just go through these events. I want you to follow along with me. We have a terrorist attack at a facility that helps the disabled and mentally handicapped children. 14 people are killed, 21 are injured. One suspect is a radicalized Muslim who's an American citizen. Another one is a foreigner who's married to him and is also a radicalized Muslim. They have relationships. They've been in contact with terror suspects from around the world, some of which are based in Syria. There was bomb-making equipment found on the premises, and the investigation is now suddenly over 24 hours later, and we're letting the news media trample through the scene. Does this strike anybody as being absolutely fucking insane? Because it makes me think I've taken crazy pills. I mean, I watched the coverage take place. The media was desperate not to go on television and say, Muslim terrorist. They didn't want to do it. Don Lemon of CNN refused to talk about the suspects. He refused to do it. And now here we see CNN correspondents traipsing through a crime scene, traipsing through a place that should probably still be getting investigated. Just digging through, rifling through, looking at pictures, looking around corners, grabbing things, showing social security cards, credit cards, IDs on national television. And it wasn't just CNN, MSNBC, and a lot of others were there too, doing the exact same thing. Aside from being absolutely salacious in what they were doing, it downright strikes me as being teetering really close to being illegal. But you know what? Maybe I'm being a little harsh here. Maybe I'm being too hard on social media and mainstream media and the law enforcement agencies that basically did a speed run of a crime scene. At least our government's got it under control. Oh, what's that? No, I forgot. We have Obama as a president. You know, Obama, the guy that likes to go on TV and weep. And of course, that's what he did the very first press conference he gave after the news of the San Bernardino shootings took place. He got up on TV and he cried a little. And he told us how guns are bad. The same message he likes to put out there every time something like this happens. If it wasn't for those goddamn guns, America, we would be living in a utopia. All our societal ills would disappear and we'd be singing and running and dancing through the streets. And of course, he didn't really touch on the potential identities of the people involved. Now, he has done that later on. I mean, with all this evidence, clearly he's going to come out and condemn this as a terrorist attack by Muslim radicals. Who am I kidding? No. He thinks it's possible. He's going to put that in the maybe category. I don't know. Could go either way. Maybe Farouk and his wife, Malik, maybe they were terrorists. Or maybe they were just angry because the printer jammed at the Inland Regional Center. You know, things happen, workplace violence. Maybe he just had one of those. He had a bad day. He had a case of the hump day blues. You know, goddamn Wednesdays, who doesn't feel like killing 14 people? Am I right? Okay, well, Obama, maybe he's detached. I mean, this is a Washington political figure. He's not there. He's not in the moment. What about California? How are the people in the California government reacting to this? California Attorney General Loretta Lynch vows to prosecute those who use anti-Muslim speech that edges towards violence. Well, thank God. The biggest concern I had on my mind after terrorists attack the United States and kill innocent people is let's not hurt their feelings. Come on, guys. Don't you say those mean things. Think about how they feel. This is the reality we live in. Terrorists conduct an attack in the United States, and the first thing we do is blame white people. The second thing we do is blame the NRA. The third thing we do is blame gun owners. When we find out who they really are and who they're really talking to, nobody wants to mention it. They want to avoid it. They don't want to call it terrorism or talk about Muslim extremists doing this. Instead, what they want to say is workplace violence. When they're finally forced to admit it because of more and more evidence that's coming out, they dance around the issue and then trample through a crime scene, contaminating any evidence that might want to be collected later on or influence. Here's a possible scenario. Let's say the FBI finishes up. Now, other terrorists that might be working with these people or associates of these people see the news media go into the place. And they see that, oh, look, they're pointing up at the ceiling. They know where the bomb cache was. So they probably have the bombs, they probably have the notes, they probably have information that we were relating back and forth between each other because I can see they drilled through that part of the ceiling. Thank you, MSNBC. Thank you, CNN, for broadcasting that on national television. So now, if they did have accomplices, if there were other terror cells that had some kind of contact or had some kind of relationship with them, they know where not to put their shit, and they know what might be compromised because you're showing them an inside view of the crime scene. That's brilliant. That is really brilliant. And then our politicians come out and say, maybe it's terrorism, I don't know. Let's talk about something else. How about some gun control? Or they come out and say, stop saying mean things to Muslims. We need to protect their feelings. Now, there were news stories that came out from neighbors saying that they wanted to report this couple for suspicious activity, but didn't. They didn't report them because they were worried that they would be branded racist, that it wouldn't be politically correct to talk about their concerns with law enforcement or with other authorities. That is the culture we have bred. A culture that is so politically correct, that is so weak-willed and afraid to speak their mind or to call something out in the open, that we would rather let a terrorist attack happen than face the wrath of social justice and left-wing politics. Now, this isn't the only recent terrorist attack that's happened, is it? We had Paris, where hundreds of people died and hundreds more were injured. Now, look at the reaction there compared to the reaction here. What happened? What did President Hollande do in response? He got on national television and said they were going to wage a brutal war against their opposition. He called them out. He said what group was responsible. And he said, we're coming for you. Now, I want you to contrast that with Obama, who gets on TV misty-eyed and cries about gun control and says, maybe it's terrorism. I don't want to say anything. I don't want to offend anybody. Remember, feelings are important. In fact, here's a picture of when they met. This was shortly after the terrorist attacks in Paris, when Hollande was going around to get international support for his pushing against ISIS in Syria. And the telling thing about this picture and the state of America as it is today is that Obama's looking down. He's getting ready to pick up that white flag that people always jokingly said that France held tightly in its hand, and he's going to run with it like it's a goddamn torch, and he's at the Olympics. Because that is the insanity of the reality we are faced with. We live in the day and age where France is the one standing up and picking a fight, and America is the one clutching its white flag because they're scared they're not going to be politically correct.